So, good morning, everyone, and I want to welcome you to the first State Council of the new decade. And I think it's probably an understatement to say 2020 is going to be a momentous year. But I know the collective power in this room can help make sure it is a year to remember. At Council, we've talked a lot over the last few years about the funding our schools and colleges need, and about the support we need in our communities to help all students and families thrive. And I don't know about you, but it didn't always feel hopeful sometimes in those discussions. The combination of decades of underfunding and the exponential growth of huge charter management organizations has been devastating to public education. And it was like the disinvestment was creating a new norm for education in our country. And it must be pointed out that this disinvestment was happening at the exact same moment that our students were becoming more and more diverse. And the racial implications of this disinvestment should never be ignored. This year, however, educators here in California, it's different. And it's different because here in California and across this country, educators have been demanding better funding and have not been afraid to go on strike to get it. Led by the Red for Ed movement, educators in state after state, including those states that don't even have the right to collective bargain, like West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Arizona. Who would have thought those states would have led a movement, a teachers' union movement? Indeed. But they have shown us that when we stand up for ourselves and our communities, the public is overwhelmingly behind us. And the recent polling shows that. 78% of public school parents support our strikes. 2/3 of voters think teachers' salaries are too low. 75% support free tuition for community colleges. And more than 80% support public education over outside privatization. That, by the way, that's the highest that percentage has been since they've been taking that poll for the last 2 decades. And listen to this. Last year, 1 in 7 of CTA members were on strike. 1 in 7 of our members were on strike. Strikes by UTLA and OEA changed the narrative around teacher strikes precisely because they changed the narrative about what it is that we're fighting for. It's no longer just about issues of salary and health care. These strikes focus on class size, curriculum, nurses and counselors. And then we had educators in Banning, Forestville, New Haven, and West Sonoma County. And they all showed us what it means when we put it all on the line. It showed us that when we are stronger together, and together we can lead the change our students, schools, and communities deserve. And this year feels different when I see the Governor Newsom's new proposed state budget. The proposed funding level for K-12 schools and community colleges, often what we call the Prop 98 funding, for the upcoming year, 2021, is $84 billion. That's a $3 billion increase from this year's budget. It's about an extra $500 on average per student. There's also additional money for early childhood education, community colleges, UC and CSU campuses. There's nearly $1 billion to attract and recruit educators into our classrooms and help ensure the students have teachers who look like them. And tired of waiting for the federal government, which has shortchanged our students in special ed for far too long, Governor Newsom is adding $900 million to support special education funding. Overall, this is good news. It's a record budget for us in California. And in many ways, this proposal is a reflection of our organizing and the Red for Ed movement. Because let's be clear, sisters and brothers, none of this would happen without our work to pass Prop 30 and Prop 55. Do you remember before those? Remember the 30,000 layoffs we had in California before those initiatives? Those initiative victories stopped the budget cuts and helped us move forward. But we're not done. We're nowhere near being done. We can't afford to be done. And that's why this year, it brings me something that I haven't felt in a long time. And that's the hope. The hope for what I really feel is the election of our generation coming up this next November. This state council voted to support the Schools and Communities First initiative last June. Schools and Communities First will reclaim $12 billion a year for our schools, colleges, and communities by mandating that some of the richest corporations in the world finally pay their fair share of taxes. Taxes on our homes, small businesses, and all farmland would all be exempt from any changes. Now let me repeat that, because we're already seeing the lies they're putting out from the opposition. Prop 13 property tax protections are in place now for homes, agricultural land, and small businesses. Do not change. Do not change. In fact, this initiative has a $500,000 tax break for small businesses. We will not pay 1 cent more, ni un centavo más. We're exempt. But let me be clear, this is not a handout for us. We know by now that working people don't get handouts in America. Corporations and billionaires do. We get the cutbacks when their greed wrecks our economy. I call it socialism for the rich. We're exempt because all of us in this room, we've already paid our fair share. We paid our fair share for 40 years. Our families have paid more than their fair share, and our students have paid the biggest price. And Schools and Communities First is about taking on and closing those corporate tax loopholes and leveling the playing field and making the corporations and wealthy investors finally pay their fair share. And let me ask you guys, how many people here are paying 1978 taxes on their homes? Look, not a single one of us are. And that's what Prop 13 was, that's how it was sold to us, right? But of course not, we're not doing that. When we sell our houses or when we buy new houses, we're reassessed. But through loopholes, properties for big corporations are never reassessed. They continue to pay 1978 taxes, and our schools and communities are starved for resources. Disneyland pays 5 cents per square foot on their land. 5 cents a square foot. Do any of us get to pay the $6.50 admission price when we go to Disneyland? The 1978 price? We don't, right? And it's not just Disneyland. There's an article in the Hollywood Reporter last week that estimates Universal, Fox, and other major movie studios would end up paying $36 million a year annually. And don't get me started on companies like Chevron. Chevron is one of the richest oil corporations in the world. And they're paying 1978 taxes on all their land throughout this state. They have land throughout this state, in the Central Valley, Richmond, everywhere, 1978 taxes. I sure as hell don't get to pay 1978 prices at the pump, right? That's not an option for us. So as a result, funding in the richest state in the history of the world has gone from first to worst. Our students have paid more than their fair share. And I was telling this to these students from San Bernardino earlier today. Before 1978, California was the top nation in education funding. Our schools were world-class models of a society that valued education. People came from all over this country for the California, we even had a name for it, the California Dream. You don't hear about the Nebraska, it's no offense, but you don't hear the Nebraska Dream, the Oregon Dream. You hear about the California Dream. That's because we have free UCs. Free Cal States. And I know about the UCs because my dad who's here was kicked out of 3 of them. Right? Free community colleges. We had nurses in every school. We had reasonable class sizes, not the largest in the country. Once we built beautiful schools and magnificent schools like the school my daughter goes to, John Marshall High School, which is about 3 miles from here. It's a beautiful school. In fact, it was a set for Grease and Pretty in Pink. It's so beautiful, the facade. But inside, after 40 years of disinvestment, inside, it's crumbling. They have 2,400 students and 1 college counselor. A beautiful building, but they have bathrooms that close for most of the year. My daughter has to run to class to get a seat at a desk. And that's not just here. While it plays out differently across the state, no matter where we are, in urban, suburban, or rural areas, not one of us, sisters and brothers, and not one of our students is getting what they deserve. And as the richest state in the nation, the 5th largest economy in the world, we're right behind Great Britain. We still rank near the last in funding. In fact, we lag the top states by more than $10,000 per student. We're happy to get this $500, I said, in this next year's budget, but we're $10,000 behind. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? No. I know it's not. It's not okay with me. That's not the California dream. Schools and communities first is our opportunity for change. It is the fight of our generation. It is the fight of our generation. At our conference, press conference, last council, right here on this floor, we also saw how powerful it is to be part of a broader coalition and to support an initiative that puts all of our needs, that of our schools and our communities, ahead of corporate greed. Because our schools have been starved, but so have our communities. Libraries, parks, summer jobs programs, roads, healthcare, affordable housing have all been starved, just like our schools. Think about what that additional money could do for your neighborhoods, your school, for your classrooms, and for your work site. This will be a game changer, and sometimes we think of initiatives as being disconnected from our local bargaining. This is connected to our local bargaining. This will be a game changer at our bargaining table, because when 80% of our district budgets comes from state funding, this statewide initiative directly impacts our local bargaining. But first, we must get the measure on the November ballot. None of this broader talk of this movement happens if we don't get it on the ballot. And we committed a CTA to 150,000. The whole coalition committed to 1.6 million signatures needed to qualify the Schools and Communities First for the November election. We need to get this done in the next month and a half. And right now, we're behind where we need to be. And frankly, I want to be honest. I'm disappointed to announce that we're less than halfway from where we need to be. So when we pass beautiful motions here around supporting these initiatives, that's great. But we can't be resolutionaries. We actually got to get out there and do the work. We must demonstrate that support. I know we can do this. We have to do this. This signature gathering effort is the first step in what is going to be a new ground game for CTA. Of course, we're going to contribute money to the campaign and support ads. But the other side, they're going to outspend us by millions and millions of dollars. With a massive, massive war chest. And you've already seen the misinformation happening, right? The only way we want to do this, the only way we're going to win this, is by connecting with our people. Because those corporations, they want to protect their unfair advantage at the expense of the rest of us and at the expense of our students. And we've seen too often how the wealthy corporations protect themselves. And then what's even worse is then they turn around and attack us, and attack public education, and try to privatize us. Think about all the money the huge charter school industry has poured into school board races. I should tell you personally, this week alone, billionaire Michael Bloomberg, who's running for president, dropped $260,000 against my aunt in a school board race for LA Unified. $260,000 on negative ads. Now, I can be honest with you. We haven't taken an official position in our presidential race. We're winning on NEA. But I could damn well tell you, Bloomberg is getting no votes from Goldberg family on this one. So being outspent is just something we have to deal with. These big corporations may have the money, but they don't have the people. They don't have you. And they don't have us, the collective us. So signature gathering is the first step of that ground game, and I know we can do this. We are the ones we've been waiting for, sisters and brothers. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So I want each of you to right now think about the actions that you can take, personally take, to reach our goal. I mean that seriously. Think about it for a minute. Think about the difference in our lives this measure can make for our students. And just think about how all of us in this room, out of here, can actually move this forward. We're going to have at least 2 blank petitions for you to take home this weekend, or you can get them also from your CTA office. Have every voter in your household sign. Talk about it with your neighbors. Take it to your gym. I know in January we all go to the gym. Take it to your gym. New Year's resolutions, right? So do it now. Take it to your place of worship. Take it to where you gather with friends. The key to getting on this on the ballot in November is taking advantage of our position of educators. We have to connect with our members, and we have to connect with a community who trust us. Make sure you support your local chapters and service center signature gathering efforts by organizing your school. That's where we have to organize our schools, to get every member to sign the petition. And then have them get their families, their friends to sign. Make sure your school is organized and educated on the issues so that we can get parents and even students involved. We cannot have our members being fooled by this. We have everything to gain by this. None of us are millionaires and billionaires. This is our fight, sisters and brothers. This is how we build the energy and momentum we need. This campaign has the potential to have a much bigger impact. Each of us in every part of the state will be able to take part in this broader struggle. And frankly, our union needs this kind of effort to show what it means to be part of a struggle for resources and for dignity. And at a time when democratic structures in this country are under attack like never before, if you look what's going on nationally, this is about democracy. The conversation and engagement on this measure are invaluable for us to model for society. So from the state of California, where the once promised California dream has been hijacked, we will show the rest of the country we value each other. We value our community and we value our students. Now, changing corporate taxes has been the third rail in California politics for decades, and no one has been willing to take this on. This initiative allows us to be part of a broad and diverse coalition strong enough to make it happen. And if we do this right, if we build the grassroots ground campaign we need throughout California in the coming months, we will inspire the Red for Ed type actions with our community and labor allies that could energize and electrify the state. We got to change the conversation, and we will, so that from our opponents, they're so desperately wanting to control it. We will push us over the finish line. So let's make this the fight of our generation. Let's build our future, sisters and brothers. Let's make this happen. And lastly, I want to close. And every January council, we put Dr. Martin Luther King on our cover. And this week, we took time as a nation to honor his legacy. And I saw many of you participated in community parades and events. And he was an organizer. He was an agitator. And he was a coalition builder. And he was also painfully aware of the sacrifice, it takes to create change. While none of us can say what people no longer with us would or would not do, I really believe in every fiber of my being that the work we are doing to pass schools and communities first is an extension of that work he did during his life and up until the moment he was struck down. He told us human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step towards the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless exertions of passionate concerns of dedicated individuals. That's us. That's us. Together we can make Dr. King's vision a reality. We are part of that struggle, and we can deliver on that justice for our students, for our schools, and for our communities. Let's make this happen, sisters and brothers. Thank you very much.